Hello everyone, welcome back. We've got our first post-draft lottery mock draft. We're going to be going 1 through 16, and I'm going to be giving you my predictions as to who would be going 1 through 16 as it sits right now, with all of the draft lottery now finished. We'll get to all of that coming up right now. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video here at the Internet Hockey channel. Before we begin this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. Thank you all for your support, and I will too with all of you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below, and don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below discussing all discussed in today's video. Now, today we got another mock draft to talk about. We haven't done one of these in quite some time, so we're going to be doing this one, and this is our first post-draft lottery mock draft. We talked about this when we were doing our live draft lottery video. I'll link it up in the YouTube cards if you haven't seen it already, but our draft lottery video, I said I would do another mock draft in the not distant future, doing one post-draft lottery, and that's what we're doing here today. So we're going to be going 1 through 16, and I'm going to be giving you my opinion on who goes where with the draft, where it sits right now. So the way it sits right now, we have the San Jose Sharks picking 1st overall, Chicago 2nd overall, Anaheim 3rd overall, Columbus is 4th overall, Montreal is 5th overall, Utah is 6th overall, Ottawa 7th overall, Seattle 8th, Calgary 9th, New Jersey 10th, Buffalo 11th, Philly 12th, Minnie 13th, San Jose 14th via the Pittsburgh Penguins, Detroit 15th, and St. Louis 16th. So there was no changes in the draft lottery. It stays exactly the same as it was at the end of the season. So we'll go 1 through 16 and tell you who I have going where. So first up, we have the San Jose Sharks picking 1st overall. No surprises here. I have them taken the consensus #1 overall pick right now, and that is center Macklin Celebrini. Celebrini, who's 6 feet, 190 pounds, is a really good player playing over in the NCAA right now. He put up 32 goals and 64 points in 38 NCAA games this past year, after picking up 86 points in 50 USHL games the year prior. He looks like a very fantastic player. He's not going to be quite the generational talent that Connor Bedard was last year for the Blackhawks, but he's going to be a fantastic top-level, top-line center for the San Jose Sharks. You can probably put up between 80 and 100 points eventually. So I think the Sharks have a really good find here, and I really don't think they're going to overthink anything at this point. They'll take the best consensus #1 overall pick, and for the first time in franchise history, Sharks get 1st overall, and they do want to take a Macklin Celebrini. So that's a very fantastic pick there for the Sharks, as they now have a future 1-2 punch down the middle of Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith. So that's a pretty good pick up there for the Sharks at 1st overall. And 2nd overall, I thought about a couple of ways this Blackhawks team could go. I could see them go after a forward. There's been a lot of people who have been linking Demidov at 2nd overall to Chicago, but I'm going a little bit of a different direction here. Now, they have a lot of really good forwards. They have Bedard, like we saw them draft last year. They have guys like Oliver Moore, who should be eventually a really good player. They have Hayes, who should be eventually a really good player. They have a little bit of older players like Reichel and Kurashev, who I think are really good players. They have Nazar, who just signed his new ELC. So they have a lot of really good forward prospects, but you don't have a whole bunch of really elite level defensive prospects. I mean, they have Korchinski, who's a really good piece. They have Renzel, who I think eventually could be a solid 3rd pair defenseman, but they don't have that next level defenseman. So I have them taking at 2nd overall Artem Levshunov. Levshunov, who's a right shot defenseman, 6'2", 209 pounds, has been playing over in the NCAA this past year, put up 9 goals and 35 points in 38 games, almost a point per game in the NCAA as a defenseman. That's pretty good after having 42 points in 62 USHL games last year. So I think Levshunov looks like a pretty good defenseman. In my opinion, probably the best defender in this draft. A lot of people see some similarities between him and Reinbacher, except I think there's a little bit more offensive upside there for him than there was for Reinbacher. So I think he should be a really good top-end talent. He should probably go in the top 3, and I have him going 2nd overall to the Hawks. Imagine having a D-core that's Korchinski, Jones, and Levshunov in the future. So that's a pretty good pickup there for the Blackhawks, taking Levshunov 2nd overall. Then at 3 overall, you have the Anaheim Ducks. Now, the Ducks have some pretty good centers that they've drafted over the past couple of years. McTavish, they have Gauthier, they have Zegras. They have a really good center depth. They also have some really good defensive prospects and guys like Hellison, Lunio, Warren, Zellweger, Mintyukov, Lacombe. They have a really good defensive core, but they don't have a whole bunch of really good players who are adapted to play at the wing. So I have them going after forward Caden Lindstrom. Now, I know Lindstrom can play center, and a lot of people do think he could play center at the NHL level, but I think he could be a really good winger in the Anaheim Ducks organization. Be sort of that power forward type player that I think the Ducks might be missing on that team. He's 6'4", 216 pounds, a really good sort of power forward type player. Last year had 42 points in 61 games over in the NHL. This year had 46 points and only 31 games at the WHL level, and looks like a pretty good prospect. So I think that Lindstrom goes 3 overall to the Ducks, and I think he is going to be a fantastic top 6 forward long term for the Anaheim Ducks team. Add him to a forward group that already has guys like Gauthier, Zegras, Terry, McTavish. Add Lindstrom in there. The Ducks are an extremely lethal forward group for years to come. So that's a pretty good pickup there, in my opinion, for the Anaheim Ducks to take Lindstrom. Now, 4th overall, I don't think there's any surprise here. And I could even see the Jackets, if he's not taking the first 2 picks, trade up to get him. But I have right wing / center Ivan Demidov, who's 5'11", 168 pounds, going to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, Jackets, in my opinion, would be a perfect fit for Demidov, given how many Russians they already have on that team. They have Chinikov, Voronkov, Provorov. There's a couple of other guys out there, too, who are Russians that are on that Blue Jackets team. So, getting another Russian, in my opinion, would be a fantastic pick up there for the Jackets. Last year, over in the MHL, put up 19 goals and 62 points in 41 games. This year in the MHL, in only 30 games at 23 goals and 60 points. So a couple of less points, but in 11 less games. So Demidov looks like a fantastic future top 6 forward, in my opinion, for the team who drafts him. And I think the Jackets, who already have a lot of really good defensive prospects and have a couple of pretty good forward prospects, get another forward prospect here. And I don't think they'd be overly opposed to waiting for Demidov for a year or two while he develops and get the KHL. I think Demidov could be a really good piece there for the Jackets. So I have the Jackets taking Demidov at 4th overall. At 5th overall is where it starts to get interesting. I think that there's a very likely chance that Lindstrom, Demidov, Levshinov, and Celebrini are going to be the top 4. I think there's a very likely chance maybe one other guy gets in there and maybe sort of shuffles that up, but I think there's a very likely chance those are going to be top 4. So at 5th overall, I have the Canadiens going a little bit off the board here and taking Berkeley Catton. Catton is 5'11", 163 pounds. He's a forward. He can play a variety of different positions. I know that they're still available at that point in time. The Canadiens would have probably taken Lindstrom or Demidov if they were still available. But with those 2 guys now off the board, I have them taking Berkeley Catton. Catton's a really good forward, in my opinion. He played in the WHL last year at 23 goals, 35 points in 63 games. He played in WHL this year, had 54 goals, 116 points in 68 games, and looked fantastic. So, in my opinion, I think Catton is going to be a fantastic player for whoever drafts him. He's a very versatile middle 6 forward, in my opinion, who I think could definitely work out really well. And I think he'll be a very elusive NHL player, so I think the Canadiens will get a really good player here. I don't think they need any more defensive help, so I need to have them going for the forward here in Berkeley Catton. So I think that's a pretty good pickup there for the Montreal Canadiens. And 7th overall, we have the new Utah franchise. This is going to be their first ever draft selection. And I have them going after someone who's probably not going to be there for the next couple of years. But it's going to be a really monster of the blue line for years to come. That's left shot defenseman Anton Salayev. Salayev, in my opinion, who's 6'7", 207 pounds, is a monster on the blue line. Could be a really good sort of, maybe resembles a little bit of Zadorov, in my opinion, where Zadorov, he's a huge defenseman, but he's also mobile and can score a couple of goals. We've seen that in the playoffs this year. Salayev reminds me a little bit about that. I think Salayev could be a really good piece there on that blue line. It's like a solid top 4 physical defenseman who can put up some points. Last year in the MHL, put up 8 points in 41 games. This year in the KHL, which is a harder league than the MHL over in Russia, he put up 11 points, including 3 goals in 63 games. So he did play a lot more games, but he did have even more points, and that's as a defenseman. So in my opinion, that's pretty good there for Salayev. And I think eventually he should be a solid, like I said, second pair defenseman who's a bit mobile on the defensive end, but could definitely put the puck in the net. So that's going to be a really good pick, in my opinion, for Utah. At 7th overall, we have the Ottawa Senators, and I'm sticking with the pick that I've been making over the past couple of mock drafts for the Ottawa Senators. I had them taking right shot defenseman Zane Parik. Parik, in my opinion, is a really good defenseman, and not only that, but he would help that Senators team even out right in the left sides of their defense. He has a 6 foot, 181 pounds. Last year put up 37 points in 50 OHL games. This year had 96 points in 66 OHL games. Looks like a fantastic player. I could even see Parik go a little bit higher at this point, but I think the Sens really get lucky here, get a right shot defenseman who I think eventually could be a solid top 4 defenseman with guys like Sanderson and one of Chicken or Shabbat. So I think it's a very fantastic pickup there for Senators, and I think Parik could be a very fantastic pickup there for Ottawa. Next, we have the Seattle Kraken. Now, they have had drafted a lot of really good forwards over the past couple of years, especially centers with guys like Beniers and Wrights, but they don't have a whole bunch of elite level defensive prospects in their system. So I have them going after Zeev Buim, who's playing over in the NCAA this year. is 6 feet, 183 pounds, left shot defenseman. Last year playing the USHL, putting up 12 points in 23 games. This year in the NCAA, had 50 points in 42 games as a defenseman over in the NCAA. I think this is going to be a really fantastic pick there for the Kraken. May have to wait a year or two for him to come over from college, but I think there's a very likely chance that Buum could be a really, really good piece there for the Seattle Kraken, that blue line. Plug him in the future with guys like Dunn and Evans in the top four, and I think they'd be a fantastic defensive team. So I think that's a really good pickup there for the Kraken if they do it to get Buum. So just to recap quickly as of this point in time, 1 we have Celebrini, 2 we have Levshunov, 3 we have Lindstrom, 4 we have Demidov, 5 we have Katan, 6 we have Salayev, 7 we have Perrick, and 8 we have Buum. So those are my top 8 at this point in time. Going over to 9 through 16, first at 9 overall we have the Calgary Flames. I can't say no to this at this point in time with him not being picked yet. I have the Flames taking Iginla. Seeing Iginla go to where his dad went in Calgary will be a fantastic thing to see. He's a forward. He's 6 feet, 185 pounds. He's really popped out this year. Last year only had 18 points in 48 WHL games. This year had 84 points, including 47 goals in 64 WHL games. Look fantastic for that team. So, in my opinion, Iginla going to the Flames, where his dad used to play, would be a fantastic storyline. I think the Flames could definitely use another guy like Iginla, who's a very versatile middle six forward who can definitely work in that Flames organization. So that's what I have going 9th overall. At 10th overall, I have the New Jersey Devils. Now, this is a pick where I think I could trade him, but if they don't trade him, I have them getting someone who used to be considered the 2nd overall pick in this draft, who's really fallen off. I have them taking left winger Cole Eiserman. Now, this Eiserman kid is really good, but a lot of people do think he could be a one-dimensional player, but everyone's been saying that his shot resembles guys like Matthews and Ovechkin's shot, which could be really lethal. And for a Devils team that already has a lot of really good young talent, adding Eiserman to a top 6 that already has Hughes and Heischer and Meyer and Palat would be a fantastic addition there for the Devils. He's 6 feet, 196 pounds. Last year playing in the USHL, had 28 goals and 44 points in 32 games. This year in the USHL, had 25 goals and 34 points in 24 games. Now, he looked pretty good. Like I said, a lot of people do think he could be only one-dimensional, but for a Devils team that already has so much young talent, I think they'll be able to take a chance on him. And if he turns out to be a goal scorer who can put them up 30 to 40 goals in the future, playing with Hughes and Heischer, I think they'd be perfectly fine taking him at 10th overall. 11th overall, we have the Buffalo Sabres. Now, sort of like the same thing with the Ottawa Senators. I have them going positionally here. They already have a ton of left shot defensemen with guys like Byram and Dahlin and Power on that team. So I have them going for a right shot defenseman here, and Carter Yakimchuk. Yakimchuk is a 6', 394-pound right shot defenseman. He was playing this past year in the WHL. Last year, had 19 goals and 47 points in 67 games. This year, 30 goals, 71 points in 66 games. And I think eventually could be a solid second pair of defensemen there for the Buffalo Sabres. So I think this is a pretty good pickup there for Buffalo, and I think this is going to be a really good pickup there to help their defensive core continue to grow long term. At 12th overall, we have the Philadelphia Flyers. I have them going for best player available at this point in time, and I have them taking Sam Dickinson, who just apparently falls into their lap at number 12. Left shot defenseman, 6', 394 pounds. At some points was valued at being like a solid top 10, maybe even top 5 defenseman. And at this point in time, I have them going in the 12th overall spots. Last year had 9 goals and 23 points in 62 OHL games. This year had 18 goals and 70 points in 68 OHL games. Looks like a pretty good player. I think Dickinson eventually should be a solid second pair of defensemen, could work out really well with the D-core that already has guys like Sanheim and York on it, so that's a pretty good pickup there for Philly. For the Wild, they could go a variety of different ways here. They have a lot of really good forward prospects. They also have a lot of really good defensive prospects. They could go a variety of different ways here. I have them going after Columbus Blue Jackets defenseman David Jiricek's brother, Adam Jiricek, who's a right shot defenseman, 6'2", 268 pounds. Right shot defenseman, like we said, could be a really good piece there for that Wild team. Last year, playing over in Czechia, had 2 assists in 12 games. This year, playing in Czechia, had 1 assist in 19 games, but looked like a much better defenseman getting into more games over in Czechia. So I think he looks like a very fantastic future top 4D prospect, and I think Jiricek in Minnesota will be a fantastic pickup there. Then at 14, I have probably the next best defenseman going off the board. The Sharks already got lost Celebrini, but they don't have a whole bunch of really good D prospects either at this point in time. So I have them going a little bit off the board here, and I have them taking Aaron Kiviharju. Kiviharju at one point was projected to be the #1 overall pick in this year's draft. It was really falling off a lot. A lot of people do think he'll probably be a pick that's somewhere between 20 and 32 this year, but I think Kiviharju, with the amount of defensemen that have already been taken and the Sharks needing a defensive prospect, will take Kiviharju. He's a left-shot defenseman, 5'10", 172 pounds. Last year, over playing in Liga, put 3 assists in 21 games. This year, playing in Liga, had 2 points in 7 games, so not look overly good in Liga, but still, I think he has a really good potential. I think could be a sort of a guy like Aatu Ratu in New York, now in Vancouver, or a guy like Lambert in Winnipeg, where they were both projected to be top 5 picks. At one point, fell off, were taken lower than where they were expected to go, but have looked pretty good and looked to be solid NHL players at this point in time, so I definitely think that Kiviharju could still be a solid second pair defenseman, so I have the Sharks going after Kiviharju to try and improve that defensive core. At 15th overall, we have the Detroit Red Wings, and I have them going the route they usually go, going over to take someone from Europe, and they take forward Brandsegg-Nygard, who's 6'1", 198 pounds. He's looked pretty good last year over in Allsvenskan, put up 3 points in 11 games. This year in Allsvenskan, put up 18 points in 41 games, so that's pretty good for Brandsegg-Nygard. Looks like it could be eventually a solid middle 6'4" there for the team who drafts him, and I think Brandsegg-Nygard in Detroit already has so many really good European players and could definitely use another forward prospect. It's going to be really good to get him here, so that's a pretty good pickup there for the Red Wings. And for the Blues, at 16th overall, they're taking right winger Beckett Seneke. Seneke, who's 6'2", 181 pounds, looks like a pretty good player. He had 55.61 games last year in the OHL. This year at 68.63 games, so not a huge jump from last year. Looks like a pretty good player. I think eventually could be a solid middle 6'4" there for the St. Louis Blues, and I think they could definitely use another winger, especially with all the centers that they already have in that forward group. So I think they try and go after a winger like a Seneke. So that's my mock draft. Just to recap here, here's 9 through 16. So at 9, we have Iginla going to Calgary. 10, we have Eiserman going to New Jersey. 11, we have Buffalo taking Yakimchuk. 12, we have Philly taking Dickinson. 13, we have Minnesota taking Nyarchuk. 14, we have San Jose taking Kiviharju. 15, we have the Red Wings taking Brandsegg-Nygard. And 16, we have the Blues taking Seneke. So those are my top 16 mock draft right now. Those are who I think will go 1 through 16 as of this point in time. I'll probably have another couple mock drafts before the actual draft happens on June 28th and 29th, but in my opinion, 1 through 16, that's the way I think it goes right now. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on who you think will go 1 through 16. I see a lot of different opinions out there, so I would love to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. I'd love to discuss that further. I think it will be interesting to see what everyone else thinks about who will go 1 through 16 at this point in time, so definitely love to hear your guys' thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. But that's my mock draft right now. That's 1 through 16. That's all I'm going to talk about for today. Remember to like this video, and if you're related, remember to subscribe down below. Thank you all for your support. I know with love you guys. We're so close to 300 subscribers, so if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. Don't forget to comment down in the comment section below discussing today's video. I also have a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that, so if you check that out, leave it in the description below. And I can't wait to see you guys all for the next video. See you guys soon.